Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Bo again. So, today we're going to talk about persuading people politically. How it might be best to approach those that you are trying to change the worldview of, and what video games can teach us about that. We're doing this because I had a couple of people ask why I didn't push back on certain ideas that were contained in Carlson's little rant that they know I don't believe are true, but I just kind of let them slide. I would imagine that most people have played a video game, and you are probably aware that at some point a character or an event will happen that will give you the exact tool you need just before you need it. It's dangerous to go alone. Take this. You should probably try to mimic that when you are trying to persuade somebody politically. Give them the tool they need at the moment they need it. Don't give them too much at once. Small, digestible bits of information are a whole lot more effective. It's been my experience anyway. A lot of times, if you are talking to somebody who is dead set on one particular issue, such as the retention thing. Okay, they're using that as an excuse because they want to kick down and marginalize this group of people. Pushing back on a wider idea, such as our foreign policy is good and that's what makes Americans safe, that's probably going to be very ineffective if you go beyond that. You're talking about somebody who doesn't, they want to marginalize people within the United States. They are not going to care about the motivations of those overseas. So it's going to be very hard to make the argument that our foreign policy really isn't that great. And that, in fact, a lot of the bad things that have made Americans unsafe are because of it. That's probably beyond the scope of what they're ready to talk about. We have to acknowledge that everybody is on a path. Me, you, the person who sent that message, everybody is on a path. We're all in different spots. We have to meet each other where we're at. If you try to go too far beyond what the person is ready to accept, it may do more harm than good. Because not only will they discount the extra stuff that you've added, they may use that as a reason to blow off your main point about the question they asked. It's that old thing. What is it? Informed people sound like insane people to ignorant people, something along those lines. It's what it boils down to. They will be able to disregard everything that you've said if you go too far, if you get too far outside their comfort zone. You can't teach algebra to people who can't add. And everybody, doesn't matter how informed you are, there is somebody on the path ahead of you and behind you. You have to frame your arguments in that way. You have to meet them where they're at. And I have found it to be more effective if it's small, digestible pieces of information. Something you can tell them something one day, and then maybe the next day add something else, and then something else. And as time goes on, their view shifts. But most importantly, when you're talking about something with, like the retention thing, it's most important because that's a perfect one. It's objectively false. Like you can show it. Here you go. This is why it happens. Boom, boom, boom. Stick straight to that topic. Don't deviate. Because at the end of it, they're left with only a couple of options about their initial source of information. Either that initial source, that propaganda source, is incompetent and can't gather basic information, or it's intentionally misleading. And either way, it helps erode the trust they have in that propaganda source that has got their hooks in them. So that's the reason I do it that way. And I do this with a lot of topics. There are a lot of times when I actually have to bite my tongue on some of them, because it's when it brushes up against topics that I really care about, I kind of have to consciously hold back, because I want to go into other stuff. However, I want the information that is most useful, the tool they need at that moment, to be handed to them in a way they can't refuse to accept. Now, that's all based on my experience as to what is most effective. Other people may have more success other ways, you know. And if you aren't doing it to actually change the person's mind or persuade them, if you're just doing it to feel better, that's an entirely different story. Unload. I mean, because while it may not help them, somebody who is in the comments section or somebody who overhears it, it may be giving them the tool they need, that extra information you provide. But we should probably try, given the fact that people who are more progressive tend to look at bigger pictures, tend to have more nuance. We should probably try to frame our arguments, our talking points, our discussions, so they can be more easily accepted by people who maybe don't always look at the bigger pictures. I think that's probably one of the biggest issues with progressive messaging, is trying to paint the whole thing at once, trying to provide that whole picture at once. For a lot of people, that's too much to take in at one time. Anyway, it's just a thought. Y'all have a good day.